Somewhere in this country right now, there is a medical student who will graduate with $0 of debt, while their classmates sign away the next 20 years of their income to student loans. This person paid nothing. Not for tuition, not for books, and they got a paycheck on top of it. That same person will one day earn a six-figure salary, travel to places most physicians only read about, and in some cases, learn to fly a fighter jet as part of their job. For years, this path has been sitting quietly inside the medical world, and the people who know about it guard it closely. So, today, we are pulling back the curtain. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why becoming a military doctor might be one of the most coveted deals in all of medicine, and why the people who pursue it almost never talk about it. Let's get into it. Here is the thing you have to understand first. Military medicine is not just civilian medicine in a uniform. It is a completely separate world, with its own way in, its own rules, and its own set of rewards that most people outside of it have never even heard of. And there are exactly two doors into that world. The first is called the Health Professions Scholarship Program, or HPSP. The second is the military's own medical school, the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences, usually shortened to USUHS. But the door you walk through matters less than what is waiting on the other side. Because once you understand the actual benefits stacked inside this path, it starts to make a lot of sense why so many people quietly chase it. Let me show you the first reason. Start with the most obvious one: the money you never spend. Through HPSP, you apply to any accredited medical school in the country on your own merit. Allopathic, osteopathic, does not matter. You get in, and then the military pays your full tuition. Every semester, every year, not a loan, not a reimbursement, paid. And it does not stop there. On top of covered tuition, you receive a monthly living stipend. As of 2025, that stipend is just under $3,000 per month, paid for 10.5 months out of the year. Think about what that actually means. The average medical student in America graduates with a mountain of debt that follows them for decades. We are talking about a number so large it shapes every decision they make afterward. It pushes them toward higher-paying specialties, whether they love them or not. It delays buying a home. It delays starting a family. For some people, that debt is the single loudest voice in the room for the first 10 years of their career. The military student does not hear that voice at all. They graduate with nothing owed and money in the bank the entire way through. That is not a small head start. That is a completely different starting line. Now, if you choose the other door, USUHS, it gets even more aggressive, because at the military's own medical school, you are not a student receiving a stipend. You are a commissioned officer receiving a full salary. Depending on your branch and housing allowance, that lands somewhere in the range of $60,000 to $75,000 per year while you are still in school. Your time there even counts toward military retirement. So already, before this person has treated a single patient, they are ahead of nearly every other medical student in the country. But paying for school is the reason everyone expects. The next one is the reason people do not see coming. Here is where it gets interesting. Most people assume military doctors take a massive pay cut for the privilege of serving, and there is a version of that story that is true, which we will get to. But the part nobody mentions is how early the real money starts. The moment you graduate medical school and enter residency, you are promoted to the rank of captain in the Army or Air Force, or the equivalent rank in the Navy. You are an officer. You are salaried as one. Compare that to civilian residents, who spend years earning a fraction of an attending's pay while doing brutal hours. And it goes further than that. In the Navy specifically, many graduates take on what is called a General Medical Officer Tour before finishing their specialty training. During that tour, you are paid and treated as a full attending physician, not a resident. You are the doctor for an entire unit. Once you are fully practicing, total compensation for a military physician, factoring in specialty pay, board certification bonuses, and housing allowances, lands somewhere between $200,000 and $220,000 per year. And that number does not even capture the full picture, because it does not include the value of full malpractice coverage. 30 days of paid leave every year, and a pension system that civilian physicians simply do not have access to. So the picture forming here is a doctor with no debt, a stable officer's salary, and a benefits package most civilians never touch. But none of that, not the free school, not the officer's pay, is the real reason people fall in love with this path. The real reason is the third one. This is the part that turns a good deal into an obsession, because being a military doctor gives you access to a version of medicine that simply does not exist anywhere in the civilian world. Take the Navy flight doctor. To do that job, you do not just study aviation physiology in a classroom. You go to flight school. You actually learn to fly. You go up in the jets. You work shoulder to shoulder with the pilots, so you understand the physical demands of their world from the inside out. Dive medical officers do the same thing with submarine and special operations medicine. The military does not want you to observe the unit. It wants you to become part of it. And that is just one assignment. Through this path, you can do rotations in humanitarian medicine, disaster medicine. You can be deployed across the country and around the world. Military physicians have responded to earthquakes, hurricanes, disease outbreaks, and crises in places where medical infrastructure barely exists. You are not managing a patient panel in a suburban clinic. You are practicing medicine at the absolute edge of what the profession asks of a person. There is also something that happens to your skill set that civilian doctors rarely experience. When you deploy, the military expects you to be a flexible generalist first and a specialist second. A general surgeon may be called to handle a neurosurgical emergency because there is no neurosurgeon available. A pediatrician may become the primary care doctor for an entire combat unit. You rise to whatever is in front of you, with a team behind you and training that prepared you for exactly that moment. And to be clear, you are never truly alone in those moments. There is always someone to call, a chain of consultation, a support system built specifically so that you can operate at the edge without falling off it. The training exists precisely because the military knows it will ask you to stretch. But the willingness to step outside your specialty and trust yourself under that kind of pressure, that is a threshold most physicians never have to cross in an entire career. For a certain kind of person, that is not a burden. That is the entire dream. It is the reason they went into medicine in the first place, before the paperwork and the billing codes and the 15-minute appointment slots ever entered the picture. And once you have seen that version of the job, an ordinary hospital shift can start to feel very small. So that is the pitch. Free education, an officer's salary, and a career full of experiences no amount of money can buy. Which raises the obvious question, if it is this good, why is not everyone doing it? Here is the honest turn. Because every one of those benefits comes attached to a price, and it is the price that separates the people who romanticize this path from the people it is actually built for. Start with the trade you make for the free education. 1 year of service for every year of scholarship on the HPSP path. Graduate after 4 years of school, 4 years as a military physician after your training is done. And if you took the USUHS route, that commitment is 7 years, not 4. This is not a favor. It is a contract. Then there is the money that looks great until you compare it to the top of the field. For a primary care physician, military pay is genuinely competitive. But for procedural specialists, it is a different story. Civilian orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, and cardiothoracic surgeons routinely earn 2 to 3 times what their military counterparts make. At the pay grade where most physicians start their commitment, military compensation falls below the 20th percentile for almost every specialty compared to civilian rates. If your goal is maximum income in a procedural field, this path costs you real money. You also give up control over your own life in ways civilians do not. You do not choose where you live. The military decides where your skills are needed, and you go there. You can submit preferences, and they are considered, but the final call is not yours. And you will deploy. That is not a maybe. Deployment means real time away from family, from home, from your routines, and sometimes it lands at the hardest possible moments in your personal life. This is one of the most common reasons military physicians ultimately decide not to re-enlist. One more. If you want to subspecialize with a fellowship, you need the military's approval, and those slots are capped every year. In recent years, only about half of Army physicians who wanted fellowship training were able to pursue it. The military controls that pipeline, and it prioritizes what the force needs, not what you personally prefer. So this is why not everyone does it. The deal is extraordinary, but it is not free. You are trading control, top-end income, and comfort for something else entirely. And here is what that something else actually is. For the right person, none of those trade-offs read as sacrifice. They read as the design of a life most doctors never get to live. The breadth of the medicine is wider. The stakes are real. The people you serve alongside are among the most mission-driven individuals in the entire field, and physicians who have been through it describe that camaraderie as one of the most meaningful parts of their career. And the experiences. The flight medicine, special operations support, global humanitarian missions build a professional life that has no civilian equivalent. So this is why everyone wants to be a military doctor. Not because it is easy, not because it pays the most, but because for the people it is built for, it offers something almost no other path in medicine can. A career with meaning stitched into every single part of it. The only question left is whether you are one of those people. If this cracked open a path you had never really understood before, the single best next step is to talk to a military physician who is actually in service right now, not a recruiter, a doctor living this life. Their version is more honest than any brochure. And if you want us to go deeper on any one of these branches, the Navy Flight Doctor track, the deployment reality, the specialty match process, drop a comment and tell us which one. We might just make it the next video. We will see you in the next one.